experience outside of just being an actor. You've written, you've produced, and you have a theatrical background. Why movies, though? Why the draw there?
Movies, since I was a teenager, have, at least as far as I could tell, simply dominated the culture. I think it's stories told on screens, whether it's in cinemas or on television screens, have become a phenomenon that is unlike any other, I would argue, in the history of mankind. Movies have been as revolutionary as the written word. It's the culmination, for right now anyway, of a storytelling tradition. In fact, I don't think there's more of a projection of American hegemony than movies. You can go anywhere in the world and people will know who a Marvel hero is or a Marvel villain. Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, our movie stars are known worldwide. The movies kind of are a projection of America.
Why do you think movies are so powerful in that way, as an art form? What is it about movies that have been able to conquer our culture in such a profound way?
It's as close as we get to dreams in terms of the subconscious.
Yeah.
You go and sit in the dark and you have this experience which is either meant to be a reflection of your life or a reflection of your aspirations or a reflection of your nightmares. But then once it's over and you walk out onto the street, you're assaulted by life, and like a dream, most of it you don't remember. And that's an interesting contradiction. And I can't think of another art form that does that in quite the same way.
Yeah.
It is utterly complete, and yet at the same time ephemeral, evanescent.
The culture, your generation is influenced by families, by churches, by schools. I do think that the next generation is probably going to be more influenced by what they ingest on a screen than any of those other forms, any of those other things. How do you feel about that?
I don't think it's going to be from movies. I think it's going to be from social media personalities, YouTube. There's been a great democratization now because of the internet of what can happen on screens and the amount of people that can see that stuff. Yeah. A viral video is going to be seen by many, many more people than movies will. I despair over that because movies are a disciplined product.
Yeah.
Few people realize how much goes into making a movie.
And such a collaborative art form,
yes.
too. And that makes a difference in regards to one man with a camera, versus hundreds working
So
together.
if a YouTube video of some person interacting with their cat, and the cat is very cute, that's a very different enterprise. Very different. In fact, it's the opposite end of the spectrum. A movie starts with, usually anyway, a screenwriter or a writer-director, and then all these people aggregate and collaborate on the project. And it truly is all about discipline and care. There's nothing frivolous about it. People think that the making of a movie is fun, which it is, and easy, Life of Riley. You go and you say the lines, you film the people, you light it, whatever. But it takes experts in an assortment of fields, from costumes to makeup to hair to lighting to all sorts of different aspects of the camera, because there's somebody who's taking care of it technically, there's somebody who's operating it, there's somebody who's doing the lighting, there's somebody whose job it is to bring in all the lights and help shape the light, which is a completely different department than the electrical department. And you have these crews, even on the smallest movies, the micro-budget independent films that number in, the dozens. There are people who spend their whole careers doing what's called a cloth track. This is just one example. They're called Foley artists, and they come in, and every time somebody moves or sits, they deal with the sound the textiles make.
Right.
That's a very different enterprise than the YouTube video. So I would say that the next generation, sadly, might be more influenced by an undisciplined art form than what movies are, and I despair over that.
And I feel like there's a younger generation that sometimes doesn't see the difference, and that concerns me a little bit. But I guess if they aren't, maybe that's on the filmmaker's fault, right? If they're not being able to prove that.
The fact is that there were theater makers, I'm certain, in the 1920s and 30s and 40s who berated cinema for cheapening what storytelling was.
Right.
And making something like the close-up or the interesting camera angle more interesting than what the word used to mean on the stage. There's a reason that we go from Shakespeare to naturalism. Movies and television further marginalized theater and what the spoken word could be on the stage, and people were already saying eulogies to theater in the 1940s. But then in the 50s, we had a golden era. There were some incredible playwrights in the 50s, like Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams, just to name a few. And while silent cinema was coming up and there was the introduction of sound in cinema, we also had Eugene O'Neill. So I'm not sure that the power of YouTube and the power of social media is going to kill cinema. It certainly won't. But it's going to ask more of cinema. And it's going to ask cinema to do stuff that other media can't.
Yeah.
And to define itself in that way.
Yeah.
Just like television was supposed to kill cinema. Once everybody had TV in their homes, why would they go to movie theaters? Well, guess what? Movies got better. And I think ultimately that's going to happen with what we consider art films and also straightforward dramas that aren't big spectacle movies that we now have to go to the multiplex and see.
This video is inspired by our PBS series, Reconnecting Roots. Connect with me, Gabe McCauley, and Reconnecting Roots by visiting reconnectingroots.com, where you'll discover music, blogs, behind the scenes, our podcast, and more. Join our email list and never miss a beat.